And the distinguished senior senator from Rhode Island is recognized.
Mr. President, I rise today to join with you, my colleague and friend from Rhode Island, to pay tribute to former Rhode Island Governor J. Joseph Garrahy, who passed away last week at the age of 81. Joe Garrahy loved Rhode Island, and in turn, the people of Rhode Island loved Joe Garrahy. His intelligence, his instinct, his integrity led our state with compassion and courage. He believed in the people of Rhode Island and in the virtue of public service. More than 3 decades after he left public office, Joe Garrahy remains one of our most respected and beloved leaders. A man of the people, the governor of Rhode Island, Joe Garrahy, is a Rhode Island icon who will be held in high esteem for generations to come. Rhode Island has lost a friend. We all lost a good friend. He was born in humble circumstances in Providence, Rhode Island on November 26, 1930, the son of Irish immigrants. He graduated from LaSalle Academy in Providence and attended the University of Buffalo and the University of Rhode Island. The governor began his political career in 1962 when he was elected to represent Smith Hill in the Rhode Island General Assembly. He served as Rhode Island's lieutenant governor from 1969 to 1976, and then was elected governor and served from 1977 to 1985. After his retirement from public life, Governor Garrahy was a business consultant who championed new economic development projects and helped existing businesses that have always been the backbone of our Rhode Island economy. He never stopped looking for and finding new ways to promote his beloved state of Rhode Island. As governor, Joe Garrahy had vision, initiative, and incredible strong work ethic. He possessed the unique ability to bring people together to address the needs at the most basic level, while at the same time tackling the most pressing public policy issues of his time. He was also particularly gifted in bringing together opposing sides, inviting diverse interests in the room to discuss issues and matters of conflict. And because of his integrity, his decency, his sincerity, he was more than an honest broker. He was someone that people trusted. His leadership, his example, led Rhode Island with such distinction. He brought people together because they innately trusted this kind and wise gentleman. And they knew that he always had the interest of the state at heart, not his personal ambition, not his personal progress, but the welfare of the people of Rhode Island. His list of achievements is long. His many good works have made a lasting impression on our state. He believed that government could and must do all it can to improve the lives of its citizens. He was elected governor after the Navy had decided to close Quonset Point, which was a premier naval air station in Rhode Island, a major employer, a major source of economic activity, and reduce its presence in Newport, a shock to the economy of Rhode Island. In spite of double-digit unemployment and a challenging economy contributed to by this departure, he set a new course to redirect resources and make government work for the people. He fought for the rights of the disabled and led in the deinstitutionalization of the mentally handicapped citizens of Rhode Island. He closed the Ladd School, which is our residential center, and he ended the practice literally of warehousing the disabled at the Institute of Mental Health. He reformed Rhode Island's prison system, which was plagued with unrest and violence, transforming it to a national model. And following the energy crisis in the 1970s, the governor provided resources to a much-needed energy office to look for innovative ways to deal with a still pressing problem to the state and to the nation. He also forged creative partnerships with neighboring states throughout the Northeast and with leaders in Canada. Governor Garrahy was a man of great passion and great decency and had a special affection for the elderly and for the children of Rhode Island. And under his tenure, he created the Departments of Elderly Affairs and Children, Youth, and Families so that he could focus the attention of the state, make the delivery of services to the seniors and to the children more efficient and more effective. And that was Joe Garrahy, thinking not about himself, but particularly thinking about the most vulnerable people in our society. He was always a great cheerleader for Rhode Island. He led the way for the Rhode Island Heritage Commission to flourish, to publicize and popularize our state's unique contribution to American history, its rich cultural heritage, its rich ethnic heritage, which he was awfully proud of. And he was always a staunch supporter of our tourism industry. He also had a profound respect and regard for the environment and worked diligently to clean up pollution in Narragansett Bay and preserve our open spaces. He had helped establish the Narragansett Bay Commission, which is one of the leading agencies in the state to treat our waste products and to make sure that they're not discarded, untreated into the bay. In fact, his efforts with foresight years ago paved the way to one of the largest projects ever completed in the state of Rhode Island, where we now prevent sewage from flowing into our bay unabated. But this was just one of the extraordinary commitments he made to our environment. He was always looking to bring businesses to Rhode Island, high-tech businesses, businesses that would provide people the chance for employment, the chance to own a home, the chance to provide for a better life for their children. He worked to revitalize, particularly the downtown Providence area, through his work with the Capital Center Commission, which did landmark work in literally reshaping the face of Providence, making it one of the most attractive and most compelling cities in our country. Throughout his administration, he always worked for public transportation facilities, everything that would complement our economic growth. He did it with great passion, great diligence, and again, and again, and again, extraordinary decency. In his final days of office, he launched the Greenhouse Compact, which was a bold economic revitalization plan. He proposed to create 60,000 high-paying jobs, lay the foundation to combat the dying manufacturing industries of the state of Rhode Island at that time. And although the compact was not approved by the voters, there were concerns about who would pay for it, how it would be paid for. Many of its proposals have come to fruition, a tribute, again, to his foresight, to his vision, to his courageous leadership, and his confidence that bringing these issues to the people would eventually lead to their adoption, and they have. Joe Garrahy was the person you wanted leading you in difficult times. And there was no more difficult time than in 1978 when the great blizzard descended upon Rhode Island. Literally, Rhode Island was paralyzed. You couldn't move. People were without communication, without electricity. But there was one constant beacon of hope and stability and strength, and that was Governor Joe Garrahy. He was the voice who quelled the anxiety, the fear, frankly, that this natural disaster would overwhelm us. In time of great turmoil, he was there. He assured us that help was on the way. And in what has become a famous historic relic in the state of Rhode Island, he did it all wearing the same plaid shirt, it seemed. That plaid shirt was a symbol of him. Nothing fancy. Something you could trust. Someone you could depend upon. Someone who rolled up his sleeves, literally, to get the job done for the people of Rhode Island. To literally, in some cases, through his leadership, save people in a very demanding natural disaster. He was, as I say again and again, one of the most decent individuals that I've ever met. He was so kind to me, so understanding, so tolerant. And I am not alone. I recall something that was said about another great American, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was in his final procession. The cortege was going down Pennsylvania Avenue. There was an individual by the side of the road who was weeping, literally. And a reporter went up to him and said, "Well, you must have known the president. You're so convulsed." And he said, No, I didn't know him, never met him, but he knew me. Joe Garrahy knew the people of Rhode Island. He was a man of innate decency and goodness. He believed that every situation had some merit, a silver lining, something he could do to bring forth good out of bad, progress out of adversity. He was a man of deep faith who worked hard, remained optimistic and compassionate in any moment. He was a noble public servant, and that word is used often, but no more accurately than with respect to Joe Garrahy, a man of nobility, a nobility born not of privilege or wealth, but of character and conscience and concern. He had an extraordinary winning personality. He was one of those people you just wanted to bump into because he made you feel better. His warm, embracing personality, his humor, his friendliness, his caring, his sincerity, all those things transmitted this sense of knowing you and caring for you, which was unique and will never, I think, in my mind, be replicated by any of us in Rhode Island. Whenever you were with the governor, you always felt a little bit better about where you were, about the future, about the world. He was fond of people, and that fondness was repaid by a deep, deep sense of gratitude for what he's done and profound respect for a wonderful man. But above all this, he loved his family the most. He was a devoted husband and father, and as he was described by his grandchildren, their papi. And we remember him now, and we also remember his family, because they have lost a great man. But he did so much for all of us to make us bigger and better that we can withstand this great loss. I want to join with my fellow Rhode Islanders in offering my heartfelt sympathy to his loving wife, Marguerite, and his wonderful family, Colleen and Michael Mahoney, their children, Riley and Michaela, John and Barbara Cottom Garrahy and their daughters, Catherine and Elizabeth, Mary Beth and Robert Hardman and their son, Wesley, Sheila and Gregory Mitchell and their children, CJ, Tard, and Chad, and Sienna and Michael Edwards and their children, Drew, Braden, and Ellie Rose. We will miss him, but his legacy and his personal example of kindness and goodwill continue to sustain and inspire us. Today, we celebrate his life, and in the days and weeks and years to come, we will remember him fondly as one of Rhode Island's greatest governors. We are all the better for having Joe Garrahy in our biggest little state.